In today's video, we're going to be going over some fragrances that you're guaranteed to love at first sniff. You know, at least for me, when I tried these the first time, I knew right away it was going to be something that kind of works with what I like and is going to be something that I'll actually be able to get a lot of use out of. Sometimes that doesn't happen right away, so I also want to take a moment to make sure to kind of explain that just because you might not like something when you try it the first time doesn't mean you should write it off entirely. Maybe try to revisit it here and there over some period of time, and then you might start to like it. It might start to grow on you, and it could become one of your favorite fragrances. I've had that happen before as well. Something I didn't like in the beginning turned into be something that I really liked later on. So don't write something off if you don't like it the first time. Give it a chance. But for me personally, again, these were pretty much instant. So like always, I'm going to put links to what I talk about today in the description below. We're going to get things kicked off with a Valentino. This one is Born in Roma Intense. So this one was an immediate yes for me. Whereas, I don't know, there was a few others within this lineup that I didn't really like as much right off the first rip, and some that I still don't like a whole lot now. So I'm kind of thinking of Born in Roma Yellow Dream. Not a big fan of that one really. Even the original Born in Roma, it didn't really do a whole lot for me, and it still isn't one that's at the top of my list. And you know, this one though, the Intense version, there's something about this that's more my style. It's more like, okay, this is something that I could see myself reaching for a lot. They give us 3 notes here. We've got vanilla, lavender, and vetiver. Now there's more going on, but that's what they give us. Ultimately, I think what they're trying to depict with that note breakdown is the fact that you get something that's a little bit sweet, hence the vanilla, a little bit fresh and aromatic from the lavender, and then a woodiness from the vetiver. And I think that's really the idea behind these 3 note breakdowns that a lot of brands do. They're just trying to paint the picture as simply as possible, and that's a pretty good, accurate representation. Now, in terms of what else I personally pick up on, like an amber wood for sure, a little bit of a powdery tonka bean somewhat, which is mixing with that vanilla, maybe some other woody notes as well alongside the vetiver, not maybe a cedar wood, but maybe more of a sandalwood, like a creamier woodiness. And then off the opening, you know, they don't list off any citrus or anything or any fruits, but I don't know, you might just get a little bit of a citrus bergamot punch off the opening that does start to dissipate relatively quickly after. So that's kind of where this one falls for me. And I already described it, but a little bit fresh, a little bit sweet, a little bit woody. Just kind of is doing several things at once, which ultimately gives you a product that is very, very wearable. You know, this is something that you could probably pull off in spring, fall, winter, and maybe indoors in the summertime. It's a little bit too sweet for my liking for outside, but other than that, this is one that you can wear. Going to be more casual leaning as well, nothing that I would wear, you know, in a formal situation, but I do enjoy this one a lot, and it's pretty popular too. I would say this is probably about the most popular Born in Roma flanker that we have, and maybe even one of the most popular Valentino Uomos right now. So really, really good stuff that you can usually get for around, I don't know, like $115 maybe or so on discounters. This next one usually clocks in at around 85 to 90. It is Hugo Boss bottled Elixir. I mean, it was an instant love for me, you know, and then not too long after this, a year later, I think it was, well, Boss Bottled Absolute came out, and it was the same thing with that as well. This has frankincense, patchouli, and cedarwood, so it's smoky, it's woody, it's sweet, it's a little bit resinous, but ultimately it has this kind of mysterious smell to it from that frankincense, just basically from kind of the resinous notes and some of the smokiness that it has. It gives it that mysterious smell. It gives it the impression of something different. You know, it's the type of thing that makes people turn their heads. You know, I would describe this as maybe a head scratcher, in the sense that you smell this and you're kind of thinking to yourself, what was that I just smelled? Because this doesn't really smell like your typical men's designer fragrance release, especially not this day and age in 2023 or 4 when this one first came out. You know, this is really going against the grain. But I like this one a lot, and because of the fact that it's something different and it's in the category that I like, which is kind of a, you know, a patchouli, smoky, woody based scent, it was an immediate love for me. And I think also a lot of people have felt that way as well. There's going to be some who don't really care for this as much because it simply isn't their style, and that's totally understandable. But for you guys who know what you like and you're into this type of category, this sort of thing, this is very likely going to be one that you love off the first spray, especially now that you don't have to pay retail for it, right? Haven't had to in a while. I paid retail for it when it first came out, but when you can get this for $85 or so for 100 milliliters, this is a true Parfum as well. I mean, it's really hard to beat at that price. Going from one Parfum to another here with Polo Blue Parfum. So again, not to be confused with Polo Deep Blue Parfum, bit of a different bottle than this and different scent entirely. Deep Blue Parfum is more of a blue scent, ambroxan based with some mango and some citrus and C notes and stuff. Polo Blue Parfum, well, it smells a lot more like the original Polo Blue, you know, the eau de toilette DNA. That's very, very common. Although what Polo Blue Parfum does is they modernize it and make it more strong. So this doesn't really have the same type of played out, old school smelling OG Polo Blue smell, which is just at this point maybe a little bit more of a boring release. This one essentially is taking that idea and just giving it a modern twist and bumping up the concentration to a true Parfum. It has oak, orange, lavender, some pink pepper, and some clary sage. So a lot of aromatic focus. That's kind of a pretty common thing these days. And then the oak note really gives this one the character that, in my opinion, the original was lacking. You know, there was a lack of depth and richness in the original Polo Blue, in my opinion. Not that there's anything wrong with that, because in that particular case, it's kind of a soapy, out of the shower type of smell. You don't really necessarily want or need something that is going to be too, you know, challenging or too unique, I guess. But this one, it is more unique. Definitely not challenging, but going to be more of a unique scent, one that's a lot more interesting, that probably will, you know, keep you invested in the wearing experience instead of just one that you spray on and kind of forget about it because it blends in so much to everything else. It's one that will continue to stand out as you wear it. And primarily, again, it's that oak accord, gives it a nice strong woodiness, mixing with all the aromatics and everything else. This one is really, really good. And I think the price is going to be somewhere around $50. It's kind of in that mid-range, which for a Parfum that is this good, honestly, is a great, great price. This next one is Chanel Allure Homme Sport, Allure Homme Edition Blanche. I always get this stuff mixed up. So this one is going to be your lemon-based scent. People will say it smells like lemon meringue pie. It's a good way to describe it. That's kind of what sold me on this, I guess, because that's what it was being described as back when I was, you know, really getting into the hobby. And that was back when this one was pretty popular at that time. This one has vanilla, lemon, and tonka bean. So you're getting some sweet notes along with it. And then a nice bright, fresh, and sour lemon accord. What I've always said is that this is simply a summer gourmand scent. You know, you typically don't really get fragrances like this for summer wear, with the exception of a few, maybe becoming more common now. But when this was released, it wasn't all that common, you know, because now we've got the Labos and all that stuff, just sweet summer-based scents. That wasn't really as popular back then. And for wintertime, we have tons of gourmands. That's when you wear gourmands, you know, coffee, chocolate, whiskey fragrances, whatever, just edible smelling fragrances, sweet ones. That's winter, you know, through and through. But every now and then in summer, you might want something that, you know, has maybe a little bit of a sweetness, maybe just changes it up from the normal aquatic freshie that you wear every single day. And that's what I like about this one, and that's why I describe it that way, because it is a little bit sweet and gourmand leaning, but still has this summery kind of fresh, vibrant type of smell about it, which works really well. This would just be paired great with, you know, a nice white t-shirt, you know, on a spring or summer day. Kind of casual leaning here, hence, you know, just a regular t-shirt, but it has just a little bit of a sweetness to it as well. All right, we were just talking about gourmand, so we'll dive into one that is straight up sweet from start to finish, is Lattafa Khamrah. You know, for a lot of people, this was an immediate love. They tried this and it was like, okay, whatever that is, I like it. And, you know, this is a clone of Angel Share, and so I liked Angel Share out of the start. And so I like this one too, because they're pretty similar. Now, not exact. I find this one to deviate a little bit, but still heavily inspired by. This one has praline, cinnamon, vanilla, tonka, and dates in here. So the dates gives it kind of this fruity, this sweet fruitiness. The vanilla, pretty self-explanatory. The praline is also kind of honing in on this gourmand type of sweetness, and then whatever else I missed there. Tonka bean, again, that one's pretty self-explanatory. A scent like this, you're going to have tonka and vanilla in there somewhere, whether it's at the forefront or not. And you do get both of them quite a bit. And then, of course, some sort of boozy kick, right? Not like a whiskey, but more of a sweeter rum accord in here. Maybe even slightly spiced rum, you could even say, but it smells absolutely amazing. I mean, this stuff, it's incredibly strong, maybe even too strong for some people, and it's cheap. You know, usually nowadays around like $25 to $30, sometimes on clearance for a bit less than that. So this is just the original Khamrah. They've got a few other flankers, which I don't even have all of them at this point. They're putting out quite a few now, but Kwawa is one that I do have and enjoy. Has a strong coffee accord mixed into this DNA, which is also great. Also beast mode, and also a love at first sniff for me. But this original Khamrah, man, it smells wonderful. If you want something strong and sweet for wintertime, look no further. Keep it moving with Mancera Intense Cedrat Boise. This is going to be niche for an affordable price, just under $100 for 120 ml full presentation, just like this. And so what you've got is fruits off the opening, kind of some sweeter woods in the mid and dry down. It's a fruity, sweet, woody scent. It gets compared to Creed Aventus. It's not that simple. This is sweeter than Aventus. This has a different type of woody focus instead of like birch and maybe even cedar. It has some sweeter woods about it. There's more differences than there are time to talk about it realistically. Is it loosely inspired by? You could say that, but other than that, this is an entirely different scent. What it is an ultimately very, very wearable scent. Okay, this is one that I've worn in the dead of winter time. This is one that I've worn in spring and summer as well. And I'm mostly talking about the Eau de Parfum just because that was the one that I got first. It was actually my first ever niche fragrance purchase, and I bought it years ago, and so that's the one that I've worn year-round, really, and it works great. Obviously, the Intense version here is a little bit newer within the past couple of years, and so haven't spent as much time with this as I have the Eau de Parfum, which I've burned through nearly an entire bottle of at this point. But this one, to me, is the one that's worth purchasing. If you're going to buy Cedrat Boise, you're better off spending the extra, I don't even know, $20, $30 and getting the Intense over the EDP. I think it's better in pretty much every way. You're going to be happier with the performance. You're going to be happier with just the overall depth and scent quality and richness of it. And it's just, you're making that investment, right? This 120 ml should probably last you for a while. You're not going to be needing a ton of sprays with it. So, you know, spend that extra 30 bucks and just get a product that, in my opinion, is improved and significantly better. This next one is really unique, and it's also from Ralph Lauren. We've got two of their scents in here. This one, though, is, I don't know, it's sometimes sold out. I don't know why. I don't think that they discontinued this. I just think that, I don't know, you just can't find it on discounters as often. Maybe they're not producing nearly as much of it, or maybe the discounters just aren't trying to buy as much of it. I don't know. But it is Purple Label. I love the bottle, too. I mean, that deep purple color. Looks cool, looks very classy. Blackberry, coriander, sage, oak moss. So the blackberry, it's the star of the show. It makes it unique. You don't get that often. You know, we've got blueberry scents, we've got raspberry scents, we've got other berry-based scents. Blackberry is one that you just don't see all that often, if not hardly at all. I can't really think of any other blackberry scents off the top of my head that I own and that I know about. I know they're out there, but it's nowhere near as common as other types of fruits and citruses. The oak moss is also going to be about the second runner-up in terms of, you know, overall prominence. It's very strong on the oak moss. It's a green, woody, earthy smell with that nice fruity blackberry. The coriander gives it this fresh, slightly watery feel as well, which is nice. This one just stands out. It's so unique, has this cologne-y, masculine, gentlemanly smell to it with a bit of a mature aspect as well, and just a refined type of wearing experience. Gets compared a little bit to Bond Number 9, Bleecker Street. This one came first. Bleecker Street obviously came after, and Bleecker Street uses blueberry and oak moss instead of blackberry. There are differences, but there also are similarities as well. Last up for this video is Tom Ford Noir Extreme. This is the Parfum version, fingerprint magnet bottle here. If we hold it like that, you can't even see the fingerprints, so there we go. Now this one takes the original Noir DNA, the Noir Extreme DNA, and just adds in some leather focus basically. And then of course ups the concentration here, which to me was an added bonus and kind of needed because I never really got the best performance out of the Eau de Parfum. This fixes it. I also like the addition of leather. I think that this scent DNA could stand to have some more masculine balance within it because it is pretty sweet from start to finish, and that leather does just that, but not too much that it takes away from the main idea. It still is a Noir extreme flanker, still heavily similar to that smell, but just more of a masculine approach. And also just the scent itself is stronger, not in terms of performance, which is improved, but just how it comes across and how it grabs attention. This one stands out more. You get a little bit of suede along with that leather as well, so it just gives it a nice masculine edge. Smells great. Yeah, I don't really know off the top of my head what the price difference is going to be at this point. I would still probably say that in most instances it would make sense to get the Parfum. If you're really trying to save money, then maybe you could go for the EDP and be happy, but for me, I wouldn't be. Knowing that this is out there and having tried both and have spent a lot of time with both, I would want the Parfum over the EDP any day. Alrighty guys, that's gonna do it for me. Some fragrances that I loved pretty much at the first sniff. Links will be down below. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.